Okay, just to begin with, injury update, just to confirm, J.C. Horn did have the hamstring, so we'll continue to evaluate the severity of that and the timetable of that. All right. Now that I've had a chance to kind of see the tape and obviously meet with the coaches a little bit, just a quick summary. On defense, thought we played well. A few comments on that. First down, I thought we were very efficient on first down. Won a lot of the first downs, put them in a lot of third and long situations. So hence the 2 for 10 on third down. So an 80% win by our defense. That's really strong. Thought the effort was good all day. First game of the season, tackling, right? And I'm sure 32 teams are saying tackling needs to improve. So tackling was okay, but probably can get a little bit better there. One of the other weak spots where, in the red zone defense, we can be more efficient there, better execution in red zone defense. And then obviously, ideally, we got the ball out a couple times, but didn't come up with any. So just need some turnovers. On offense, positives were, ran the football well. Thought the O-line played well. Thought the O-line protected well. We had some pressure later in the game. When we get in that pass mode, they ran a couple stunts. But for the most part, I thought the protection was good. I thought we were, subpar in the pass game in general. As far as chunk plays, we need more explosive plays. In the red zone, we were 1 for 2. We had that 4th and 1 that we get stopped on in that first drive. That really ends up being like a turnover, right? I mean, you go for it on 4th and 1 and don't make it. So we had 3 turnovers. Really, it turns out to be 4 turnovers, which is a negative, but in some ways that's a positive, right? We're in that game. We're leading in that game, in the third quarter, with those turnovers. So that's a double-edged sword. We got to eliminate those, but also there's some positive to it as well. I will say on the turnover note, yesterday I mentioned to you guys, it's not always what you appear like. The one thing I'll say is, like, on the first interception, I put a lot of that interception on me. We got in a bad position. We got the OPI called, and then so we're backed up, and then we get a delay of game call, and that delay of game was 100% on me. I had a miscommunication with Bryce. It was 100%. That miscommunication was 100% on me, and and it caused the delay of game. So puts us even more backed up and put us in a bad position. So that one's on me. And then, on third down, I thought early on we did some good things on third down on offense. So there were some good signs there, but we still need to get a little bit better. On special teams, 3 penalties, that's unacceptable. Other than that, I thought, Johnny punted well and Eddie kicked well, obviously on his kicks. So a lot of positive things to build on, but need to get a lot better as well. So I'll open it up from there.
All right, let's start off with David Newton and go to Mike Kay.
Yeah, Coach, your wide receivers, I think had 8 catches on 15 targets. What was the issue there getting them the ball? And you look at that as something that you've got to figure out moving forward.
Yeah, confident in our guys. We'll just have to we just have to execute a little bit better in all areas. So just have to execute better, have to put them in better position, have to execute better, and I'm confident we will.
And you mentioned the first interception. What about the second when you looked at it back on tape?
Yeah, the safety made a good, Bates is, as I said, Bates is a good, he kind of snuck in there. I would say, that one too, also, if I were saying it wasn't 100% on Bryce, there was a little something in the play that broke down. There was a small breakdown in the play that could have affected it. But again, we just have to execute better overall.
Thank you.
Frank, I know you said that tackling could be better in week 1, but how concerned are you about the run defense at this point?
I feel good about how, the percentage of wins we had on first down. They have a dynamic run game. They're going to, it's almost like you go, when you play some teams, they just got certain things that they're going to make their plays. You play the Atlanta Falcons, they're going to have some explosive runs with those running backs, with their scheme and how they coach things up. So we do have to do, I think, looking at our game summary, we count explosive runs as anything over 10 yards. We had 5 of those on offense, and they had 5 on offense. So, and we had a lot of other wins on first down. So certainly want to limit that. I'm not overly concerned about the run defense. I give a lot of credit to Atlanta and how good they are on offense, and thought we had a lot of first down wins.
And then I guess to follow up, what's the coaching point on Smith-Marset, the punt fielding within the 5?
Yes, we have we kind of have general principles that we go by. I don't want to say what those are, but I don't want to say, I'm not publicly going to say what those are, but yeah, those are those go in the category of decision making. And sometimes as a returner, you got to make a judgment call. And his was kind of right on the edge. Where it ended up was probably a little bit inside of where we would like, but you got to make the call in that moment.
All right, let's go to Scott Fowler, followed by Joe Person.
Hey, Frank, thanks for doing this. 2 quick things. I'll ask them one at a time. First one is just I wanted your comments on Frankie Louvu's performance. He seemed like he was around the ball a lot, as usual.
Totally. In all areas of the game, run defense, as a, blitzing the quarterback in coverage, just thought he played a very good game.
And second, Bates said in his press conference yesterday in the Falcons locker room that he basically knew y'all would try to get Bryce comfortable, throw it very quickly, and that he kind of jumped on those, what he called inside breakers and digs a few times because so the way he kind of put it was he was not too concerned about the deep ball. Do you think that's something that needs to change going forward to get people off of your shorter slants and stuff?
Absolutely. The deep ball always has to be a threat. We went back and looked at it. We actually called more than I thought we did. We probably had 4 or 5, maybe even 6 potential deep shot calls. A couple of them, we just didn't execute on. There was one that we checked out of because they were bringing a blitz. But I think and then there was one that we read something and just went the other way, which sometimes happens. You see something and you see something you like over here and it was good. So it felt like, looking back on it, like the shots, that felt like we called enough to get down the field. At the end of the day, really what you look at is the plus 20 plays. There's 2 categories of getting the ball deep. There's the plus 40 plays where you're throwing go balls on the outside and deep post routes. And then there's the chunk, those deep plays over the middle or on the sideline, those 20, 25-yard gainers. Obviously, we didn't have any of either of those. So that's not going to be acceptable. We'll have to do much better there.
Thank you.
Frank, when we talked to Brian after the game, he talked about last week making a conscious effort to sort of leave his emotions and the business side of it at the door, as difficult as that is. And he mentioned speaking with Justin Houston about that. Wondered if you had any of those types of conversations with Brian, during what was a difficult week for him.
Yeah. So my approach with Brian was, and listen, how I've gotten to know Brian is, as I've said, nothing but utmost respect and trust. So I was prepared to have a one-on-one conversation with him to, ask him his intentions, so on and so forth. But when he came out on Wednesday and practiced, that said everything I needed to hear. And so for me, and my approach was, I trust the man. I believe in him. I trust him. And when he came out on Wednesday to practice, that told me everything I needed to know. And so I was going to proceed forward like that was his decision and respect him and his process and allow it to play out.
All right, let's go to Steve Reed, followed by Skylar Callahan.
Dylan, I'm sorry, I was trying to ask a quick follow-up.
Go ahead, Joe.
Sorry, Frank. On Brian and sort of that edge rotation yesterday, Gross Matos didn't play, but I think 4 snaps. Barno and Johnson didn't play at all. Is that something you might look at? Did you see any signs that Brian had tired out toward the end of the game?
No, it was an interesting flow of the game. I mean, where there weren't a whole lot of drop back. There wasn't a whole lot of drop back action. They were running the ball, play pass. We had, I don't know how many offensive plays. I forget the number of. We had 79 offensive plays. I know they had a lot fewer. So I didn't feel like that was an issue. That's always a game by a great point though, Joe. Because obviously normally you do rotate a little bit more, and I think in certain types of games we might see that, but I don't think this game lended itself to it.
Hey Frank, a two-part question. I'll give them both to you because I think you can handle both of them. First of all, how did Bryce grade out in your mind with you guys? And secondly, what did you think about the separation the wide receivers were getting? Did you see a lack of separation there?
I think Bryce played well. One of the other things I thought he did well, I thought he threw the ball away a couple times. I think he had probably 3 or 4 throwaways where he's not taking sacks. We called a play, it wasn't there in the time it should be there, and he got rid of the football and threw it away. I thought that over the long haul, that's going to help us as a team. It's going to help us stay in phase and not take sacks. It's going to help him stay healthy. I just think that showed, and he's not, worried about his stats. So, those throwaways don't help your stats, but they sure help our football team. And I thought he did a great job with that. And I thought he threw the ball accurately. And like I said, we had the 2 interceptions. The one I don't put on him at all. But the second, and the second one was kind of a couple different factors. But sure, can we all get better? Can I get better? Can Bryce? Yeah, we can all get better. But I thought overall he played solid football. And then receivers. Yeah, I think that I think at times there were Mingo ran a couple really good routes. Thielen ran, he ran one killer route. They actually showed a coverage and that kind of took us away from it. And because you thought he was going to be covered, and he ends up beating it. I mean, ran an unbelievable route. Terrace, that first third down runs a great. We put in a little wrinkle on this third down. The very first third down we had, and it was something we added late in the week, and Terrace does a great job on that. And then there's other times we need to get better separation. There's other times where, it's physical. It was a little bit more physical down the field on a couple throws than I think we're all comfortable with. But we got to find a way to still win from that, and but confident in that receiver group.
Hey, Frank, you just mentioned about how the Falcons really didn't do a whole lot of drop back passing. What did you feel about that secondary, like the discipline to not bite down on some of those? And then obviously with JC in his situation, how confident are you in CJ and Troy Hill and some of those other guys at the corner spot?
Yeah, very confident in the depth, in the depth in that room. That's an area that we felt has been a strength. So, hopefully JC will recover quickly and we'll get him back, but confident in the depth of the room. And you're saying to comment on our secondary, the way we played the play action stuff? Yeah.
Yes.
I thought it was good. They obviously hit the chunk play, just threw it up to Pitts. But, I thought overall solid.
You got time for one quick one, David. Go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, I was actually going to ask about Troy and how he played, but I'll ask another. Do you expect to have Chark back this week, and what does he bring to that group?
First of all, I thought Troy played well. But, if DJ, just depth, he's a playmaker. We were having a lot of success with him in training camp, and through the beginning of the season, getting the ball down the field with him. So a good connection between he and Bryce. So add one more playmaker to the mix, and feel even better about the room. I'm confident that room we're going to make the plays that we need to make. Going forward, I give the Falcons credit for limiting that this weekend, but we'll continue to get better as we go.
around the league, there were a lot of teams that did really well with some speed receivers. You feel like the speed is the one thing kind of missing from this group?
You know, I mean, hey, there's a lot of different ways to, you know, to make plays. Certainly speed is one of those ways. You know, you got a guy like Tyreek Hill, you know, has 200 yards. I mean, he's just different, right? I mean, there's no team has speed like that. He's in a different category all by himself. So, you know, other than that, our guys have plenty of speed. You know, I look at the way we run. I look at our receivers' times. You know, we'll find ways to make plays down the field.
Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks, Coach.